Welcome to the Stage Analysis Weekend video. It's Sunday the 27th of November 2022. So got a few new members this weekend with the Black Friday sale on the annual subscription. So I'm gonna do a more fundamental video this week, just keeping it to the core of the method. Did a weight of evidence approach, going through the indexes, the industry groups, market breadth data, stage 2 breakouts for the week, and the finishing off with the watchlist stocks from the weekend scans and a bit more detail on multiple time frames to have a closer look at what's going on with those. So starting off tonight, we're going to just go through some of the major indexes, see where we're at the moment. So starting with the S&P 500 here as usual. So as you can see, we've been grinding slowly higher since the secondary follow-through day. It came on I think it was November the 10th we had that day, so which followed through from the earlier in October move. It was October the 20th, 21st, somewhere around there, 21st of October on the 1st. So we've been grinding higher for over a month and a half now, and we're just approaching the 200-day moving average on the S&P 500 now. You can see we're within touching distance of that now. But you will note on other indexes, obviously it varies. We're actually well above it on the Dow Jones. We're only less than 1% on the S&P 500 here. So we can move through this 200-day moving average up into the resistance zone and then potentially start to hold in there. And that would be a potentially bullish scenario there. But if we do fail at this 200-day moving average, as we have done multiple times previously during the stage 4 decline, then this could obviously roll over heavily and we could return back to stage 4 again. But at the moment, we continue to develop in this sort of stage 1 range at the moment. We've been in this sideways range now since May, June time. See, the bulk of the price action has been in a reasonably tight range between this 4,000 and 3,500 range here. So above the 180R level since the follow-through day here. So this is that 180R level, which is above the 21-day here. So it's 180R from the 21-day EMA. So you can see when we're in a short-term uptrend, we tend to be above this level in here. And as you can, for the good couple of weeks now, we've been above that. Volume has been diminishing low as we were going into the Thanksgiving week. So it's lightening off. So we'll see this week it'll be a much bigger test as that volume returns again. And you can see the percentage of stocks above their 20-day EMA has been above the 70% level for the bulk of the last month now. So that continues to hold. If we start to see that drop below that 70% level again, then that's a potential short-term sell signal there. So keeping an eye out for that as well. If we look at the equal weight by comparison, so you can see it's already above its 200-day moving average. It's been held above for the last 3 days now. Did move above initially and pulled back underneath, rebounded at the 180R level, has pulled back higher again and actually closed the week at the plus 280R level. So still on a strong short-term uptrend on the equal weight. So again, go back and compare that to the S&P 500 normal, which is below its 280R level and 200-day moving average. So showing some more strength there in the equal weight. If we look at the weekly chart by comparison, you can see we've had 3 weeks now back above the 30-week moving average, which we use in the stage analysis method as the core moving average. Still got the 10-week moving average still below that 30-week moving average. So technically not very strong yet. You want to see that 10-week getting back above the 30-week moving average and starting to cross above and below, ideally within the stage 1 range. Don't always get it low, as we can see at the moment. We've been in stage 1 since we started to move up and out at this level here. Did have a deep pullback low, but many stocks during this pullback in here actually made higher lows and then continued in stage 1 and started breaking out into stage 2. So we have been continuing to form potential stage 1, although the index didn't particularly show it, and only just back above that 30-week moving average again within the last few weeks or so. So still some more work to do here. If we look at the NYSE by comparison, another 3 weeks above the 30-week moving average. Again, the 10-week moving average is below the 30-week here. So a little bit more work to do on this one technically as well. You can see it's outperforming against the S&P 500 here. It's been above its zero line since back in April time now, with only a small dip back below in July, August time there. So this is actually approaching the upper end of the range and in potential for a stage 2 breakout attempt even within the next week or so if it continues on the current path. So Nasdaq, on the other hand, composite is much weaker. This has been in stage 4 for since early in the year, it has been developing in potential stage 1, but it did move up, as with the S&P 500, with the change of behavior view here, started to potential move to stage 1, had the deep pullback and undercut at the bottom of the range here. So it's still developing a structure, but it's at the weaker end, the lower end of the range here. So I'm still below the declining 30-week moving average. So you need to see this continue to improve back above that 30-week moving average, give it a bit more confirmation that it is in stage 1 again. But at the moment, still give this one still a tentative between 4 and 1. You can see massively underperforming the S&P 500 there, as it's a long way below its zero line. Same with the Nasdaq 100, still in the downtrend channel, but obviously developing this sideways range since that June time. Dow Industrials, on the other hand, is showing us some different behavior. You can see this week, actually, it made a stage 2 breakout attempt at the end of the week. Volume was very low, so obviously could be a false move, but showing that it's massively outperforming in terms of relative strength versus the S&P 500, making higher highs here compared to that above a rising zero line. So really outperforming in the near term. If we look to the SATA chart, which is the stage analysis technical attributes indicator, which is these 3 indicators here, so just showing it in different ways. So all it is a scoring system that looks at the breakout and breakdowns, the various different price versus moving averages combinations, the Mansfield relative strength, a few different momentum approaches, some volume, measuring the volume and the overhead resistance, and then it gives it a score between 0 and 10. So at the moment, the Dow E-mini futures here, as you can see, we've got a score of 10, as every single one of those has turned green here in the indicator. So this is the first 10 we've had since back in, it's back here. No, that's not a 10. I lie. When was it? It was May 2021, I think, back here, this darker green line. So this was the last time it was on a score of 10. So when it was obviously deep in stage 2 at that point, so it started to break out into stage 2 around this kind of area. So at the moment, we've got a tentative stage 2 breakout attempt at the top of the range here, but could easily turn into an up thrust and start to pull back into the range again, as it's obviously had a strong move now for what we've got there, 7 or 8 weeks from the bottom to the top of the range with the undercut. So we've had a shakeout, so this could easily turn into an up thrust and we could continue going sideways, but obviously showing relative strength versus the other markets. And you can see the technical score here going from obviously a score of 1 back in early October there to a score of 10 now. So a massive improvement in terms of its score. Back then, one more. I just wanted to look at the Russell 2000, also showing stage 1 type behavior for a while now. You see the ranges that have been developing through here. So at the moment, testing the old resistance from the initial move down. So within a broader range here with a bit of an up thrust there. So potentially a move through here may even constitute a stage 2 breakout. Let's look at it on the daily. You can see, yeah, move through there, through the 190 level there, potentially, because it'd be above the first swing high, above that 200-day moving average there. That could potentially move that back to stage 2 even, but obviously to be a little bit more cautious, you might use the higher level as your breakout level. But at the moment, that is obviously a potential for that to move back towards stage 1, stage 2, I mean. Nasdaq Composite on the daily time frame, you can see, as I said, much weaker as with the Nasdaq 100. So still at the bottom end of this range that's been developing since May, July time, May to July period there. So when we started to move at the bottom of the range here, so October we had the spring low, higher low test, which was much weaker than we saw in the S&P 500 and the Dow, for example. But this could potentially be phase C of this base structure here. So with the higher low test now, so we could in theory be into phase D with the follow through day there as it moved back above the 50-day moving average. So there's your follow through day. At the moment, we're looking for some further continuation through this 11,500 area back towards that 200-day moving average to move this into potential phase D. If it starts to falter in here and moves back below this 50-day moving average, then obviously could return to stage 4 very quickly of that. So obviously in a bit of a tentative position at the moment. Russell 2000 right up at its 200-day moving average, just as I said, showing a bit more near-term strength. Move through this 190 area could potentially send this out towards stage 2 type behavior, or just late stage 1. It's as I said, it's a little bit of a trickier one because of the rougher levels in this, but it has been basing in this broad range since May time, as with the other indexes, with shakeouts and up thrusts multiple times here now. So, but short-term uptrend since that October the 13th, not 13th, 20th, I think it was 20th, 21st. It was 13th, sorry, right, first time since there, and back up to the 200-day. So looking for that move higher, but if it does start to break back down below and starts to test that 50-day moving average again, that could easily flip back to stage 4 again, as we're in a completely neutral position with the Russell 2000 here. Right, moving on. Let's go on to the dollar index. So this is key at the moment with the major markets. As you can see, been in stage 2. Right, highlight here. We've been in stage 2 since back in this period here. Started to move out into stage 2, and then more convincingly at this point had an extremely strong stage 2 advance, while the market has been, obviously, this is when the October, November, this is the period where the market started to top out, whereas the dollar started to break out. So often moves inversely to what's going on with stocks. Not always, but very much more the case with gold and silver, for example, and we've seen a similar type of move in those as well. So we've had this deep stage 2 advance, we had the buying climax, reaction, secondary test, obviously started to form a range and then broke down convincingly. So we've had a change of behavior, and a change of behavior in stage analysis means that when you're going from stage 2 and you have this change of behavior. So what we mean by change of behavior is if you measure these prior swings here, you can see obviously they were all similar in length. Even at this point here, it was still fairly similar in length, but then obviously this one broke down more convincingly there. So that's a change of behavior. So when we get a change of behavior, you can see the technical attribute score shifted from above a 7, started dropping below a 7 into a 5, a 4. It's now down to a 3 currently. So we've moved into a potential stage 3, early stage 3 at the moment. Sometimes when you have a blowout top like this, the stage 3 can be very short, and it can just continue down and move into stage 4 fairly immediately, with only a brief few weeks in stage 3. But often at this point you get a jump at the 200-day moving average. We look at this on a daily, it holds at the 200-day moving average, and you get some kind of bounce, moves back up towards that declining 50-day moving average and starts to form some kind of range, and could later on drop down into stage 4 at that point. So we go back to the weekly chart on this. So on that, it looks something like this. Starts to build some kind of structure, goes sideways, builds that stage 3 range, and you might get a stage 4 breakdown further down the line at that point. As I said, isn't always the case. Obviously, you could still get a strong rally back up towards the highs even, but there is obviously the chance of complete capitulation and starts to move into stage 4 very quickly. We see if it did, the starter score here would continue down into a 2, a 1 and a 0. So you would likely get down to a 0 very quickly at that point, and then you would be in stage 4 at that point. Look at the Treasury bonds. It's been rallying for the last 4 or 5 weeks now. So off of the lows, but still in stage 4 at the moment. Again, the SATA score only up to a 3 at the moment, starting to rally a little bit. So this one's still got a long way to go, but starting to make an attempt to base once more. Got the copper futures building out this structure. So you can see potentially with the move back above the 30-week moving average here, starting to hold in here. We've got potential stage 1 developing now, obviously coming out of stage 4 and starting to move into stage 1 behavior. But obviously could still have a lot of work to do. But at the moment, with that pivot above the 30-week moving average, that marks your initial stage 2 breakout level. You can see obviously prior resistance zone through here as well, just above that. So a move up and out through this area strongly could potentially push that back to stage 2, but you would need to see that 30-week moving average start to turn up at the same time if that was the case, and your technical attributes get back above a 9 or a 10 there at the same time. So copper at the moment potentially in early stage 1. Same with gold here, as you can see, had that move above the 30-week moving average, moved out through 4B minus, and now potentially in early stage 1 here, hitting into resistance currently. So more work for that one to do. Same with silver, a little bit better in terms of its technical score. It's up to a 7 at the moment, sitting at the top of this initial base structure. So if we mark this level here is potentially a stage 2 level to watch. So it could continue to build out across there. You can see we've got a zone of resistance across here that it's in. So stage 2 would be a move through this kind of area here, 22.5, 23 kind of area at the moment. So, but we could obviously quite easily come back down in the range, could continue in stage 4. There's no guarantee that just because it's attempting to move into stage 1 and improve that it's going to end up in stage 2. Could obviously fail, could turn into an up thrust, could start to come back in and come back into the range again. So no guarantees of that, but at the moment technically it is improving. And then one more just wanted to show was the Euro stocks. This is another one that's actually moved out into stage 2 recently. So the Euro stocks 50. So we've got stage 2 breakout here. Got draw a quick line across there. So there's your stage 2 breakout level, obviously moving into a resistance zone at the moment, prior highs, lows area. So although technically it's moved into early stage 2, it's now in stage 2, bumping into overhead resistance from this prior, obviously stage 3 top here. So you have little head and shoulders at the top. So potentially this could need to chop around sideways for a while. So we will see. But if it does, obviously if it fails and comes back below, then that would be a negative. You'd be want to see this hold above this kind of range in here and form a backup, or continue to break out to higher levels. But you can see technically using the SATA score down here, you can see we've had multiple weeks now of pure green. So it's gone a 9 currently. Obviously been showing some really strong relative strength versus the S&P 500, for example. Right, the VIX has continued to come off. We're now down since the October, the low. It's drifted lower. We're now back down towards that 20 level, 20.5. Just want to continue for a more bullish environment. Obviously, the lower this goes, the better. So obviously, we just want to continue to see that doing what it's doing.